How do we increase units per transaction in retail? Wondering how to get higher profits in your store? Learn how UPTs are the secret weapon you can use for any type of retail. Let's dive in. One of the most basic ways you can grow your UPTs is obviously how do you arrange it, the merchandise. And I think if you get nothing else out of this video, you have to bundle it or show a program or a system of how it all works. A little backstory, I was in Denver and I saw this A-frame store in front of this hair salon and it said, grow your hair 20 or 30% thicker with this shampoo. And I was like, awesome. So, and I'm dressed kind of like this, and I walk into the salon and this young girl comes up to me and goes, can I help you? And I said, I want that. And she goes, well, you know, it's really expensive. And I was like, they're like homeless or something? I said, well, I didn't ask the price. She goes, well, we don't sell much of it. I said, oh, okay. And the owner or manager came over. She goes, can I help you with something, sir? And I said, yeah, I want that. And she goes, well, she's right. We don't sell very much of it. And I said, do you think it matters to me? Geez, what is it? Now, I get it. It was $90. It was $90 for the shampoo. And I've been using it now for several years, and I love it. I didn't get it from them, by the way, because the one person who did showed me that it's not about the shampoo, it's also about what you put on it afterwards, Rogaine, of course. It's about the way that you, the hair dryer that you use, and whether you use it natural or, you know, use a brush or different things. It was a system of taking care of my hair. That's the thing I want you to be thinking about. What is the system you're selling, right? So if you're selling apparel, well, the system is an outfit, right? If you're selling shoes, it's going to be the insoles and the socks. Or a second pair. If it's going to be yard equipment, let's say a shovel. Okay, so you're in the shovel department. Maybe you're going to have planting mix, and you're going to have a couple of annuals, and you're going to have fertilizer, right? You want them to see the full picture. That's the difference in raising units per transaction. It's not trying to get, you know, half off anything on this end cap, because yes, you could double your units per transaction, but you've destroyed your margins. So units per transaction without discounts is what's helping you grow your sales and, more importantly, getting your crew used to showing the complete picture. Do you understand what I'm saying? If so, tap once on the glass right there. All right, good, thanks. Now, part of that also is a lot of you do product training. And you know, in the old days of, dark days of retail, that was the secret weapon, because maybe you go to a trade event and you talk to the trade reps and they would tell you about this new product, and then you would learn all the features it had, and then somebody, the owner, the manager, would come back and hopefully train the crew, all that. And the only place a customer would find that information is where? In your store, that's right, thanks for saying that. Nowadays, all that information is online. In fact, I could look at it while I'm in your store on my phone. I might look at it on my laptop, but all the features of the product are up there. So you've lost that. The only thing you have is, what does my crew bring to the table? Well, it should bring personality and fun, and it should be thorough knowledge. So if they know the product knowledge, the way you'd want to be having fun with that is to say, okay, so what benefits could you use to give me a higher units per transaction while working with, you know, give them some situation. You could write it on a piece of paper. But all you care about is benefits. Nobody is buying the features of the product, right? And anything can be a feature, okay, right? Anything can be a feature. This iPhone case is spangly. And in the end, you should hear the customer going, so what? Because if you don't answer that, you feel stupid, right? This iPhone case is spangly. So you can separate it from other members of your family really easily. Oh, nice. You've asked and answered. That's the basic part of why we use a feature, what it has, and a benefit, what it does. And why is that important in UPT? Because without it, you might just be saying, oh, do you want some insoles with that? Do you want some shoe polish? And you're just throwing out all kinds of laundry lists. You don't want to do that. To grow your UPTs, you want to think of lock up the main item first. So let's say somebody came in looking for a couch in your store, or a sofa, excuse me, if it's over $500. And you've locked that up. So one add-on could be the service to keep it from, you know, protecting the materials. But why couldn't we think, well, if we're selling the sofa, probably need 2 end tables, and maybe 2 lamps, and maybe a cocktail table in the middle. But if we start thinking about how do we build the room, the environment, then we're going to be of more service to the customer. And more importantly, if they walk out of there and say, oh yeah, I wish we'd gotten those end tables, they come back to you because you felt like they did such a good job. Instead, they might feel embarrassed, like, oh, we forgot those, well, let's try somewhere else. and now you lost what easily could have been 4 or 5 piece sale to be settling for just that sofa. And I don't want that for you, right? All right, so is this helpful? All right, good. You know, and also how you place your merchandise is just as important. For example, one of our SalesRX clients, when we got to talking, I said, what are you doing with add-ons? She goes, we're at 1.1, 1.2. And I said, well, what do you want to add on? And she goes, well, of course, the insoles. And I go, and what else? The socks. She goes, we have a bunch of try-on socks. I go, yeah, you can have try-on socks. A, they're gross. And B, why aren't you selling a new pair of socks to every shoe? Well, the socks are kind of over there. And then she heard herself and goes, so I need to move the insoles and the socks over by our main try-on area. I go, you answered your own question. And sales went up 38% for one and 45% for the other. Now, why did that happen? Because proximity made a big difference, right? It made it easy to shop. You might have seen at the holidays, ornament stores or department stores, and they say shop from the tree, and there's a basket right there. Why? Because they know if your hands get full, you're going to stop buying. So another tip you could be doing when you think about proximity is make sure that you have a shopping basket by the door. Now you might say, oh, we're a clothing store, we don't do that. Okay, fine. But then the employees should be coming over, the associates should be coming over and saying, here, let me take that for you and I can start a fitting room. Because when our hands get full, we realize the time and we want to leave. And I don't want that for you. So thinking about how do that proximity to everything you're showing makes sense in your store. I know one clothing store, and in the middle, right by the registers, where they have the belts and they have jewelry and handbags, because it's a great add-on, and because everyone's going to be passing by it and standing there as they're being rung up. So that's not all the answers for why UPT makes sense, but hopefully you'll take those tips and understand that it's totally doable. It's just going to come down to training. Yeah, you've heard me say that 100 times. Proximity, where you put it, and then having that mindset of, oh, this goes with this, and selling the room, selling the project, selling the hair care system for that customer. And by the way, hold on, I've got a special for you. Right up here at this link up above, you can click, and there's another video that'll help you with this, as well as down below if you didn't get that, you could check that out. But understand that UPTs and average ticket are the two drivers that say, I've got a system of employees who are working with me, or I've got some people that are working for me. And there's a big difference. Retail Doc out.